Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all of you. I hope you all are well and fine. Welcome back to the class. I hope you are safe at home and you're washing your hands again and again. You're protecting yourself from COVID-19. Okay, so we will start our new chapter today. So let's begin. In last class, we have completed our chapter number 1, and the name of chapter number 1 was Understanding Living Things. In that chapter, we have learned few of the common features of all the living things, that they are made up of cells, they need energy, they grow and change, they respond to their environment, and living things reproduce. Now we are having another chapter named as How Animals Live. It is our chapter number 2 and it is on page number 12. What kind of things we are going to learn in this chapter, as the name is How Animals Live. So for the life of animals, many of the processes are important, from which 3 processes we will learn in detail in this chapter. What are these? Let's see. So here are some of the important processes of animals, including breathing, feeding, and movement. These are the 3 processes which we are going to learn in detail in this chapter. Remember that breathing we have learned in chapter number 1 as well. What we have learned in breathing, that to inhale the oxygen and to exhale the carbon dioxide, the process is known as breathing. Okay, but how we get the energy by breathing and respiration, we will learn in this chapter. How animals feed and what do they eat, how they change their place, how they move from one place to another. These 3 processes which we are going to these are the processes which we are going to learn in detail in this chapter. So the process number 1 which we are going to learn in this chapter is breathing in animals. Remember that breathing is one of the main feature or common feature of all the animals, not plants, okay? All the animals breathe, and what is breathing? They take in oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. This is known as breathing. But the important thing here is animals take in oxygen and use that oxygen. They use that oxygen to get the energy. Okay, if we eat food but we do not respire, if we do not respire, there is no oxygen. Okay, so food is not enough to give us energy. When food combines with oxygen, so we get the energy. So animals take in oxygen because it is important, not for only breathing purpose, but to get the energy as well. Okay, so breathing occurs in different organisms, different animals, by different ways. So my dear students, as I told you that breathing is one of the most important function or process of all the animals. Here we are going to take example of breathing in birds, reptiles and mammals. Birds, reptiles and mammals are the groups of animals. We have divided them according to their dissimilarities from one another. Like all the flying animals are birds, for example, parrot, and reptiles are the crawling animals like crocodile and snake, and mammals are the animals like horse, sheep, goat, like this. Okay, why they have divided and how they have divided, we are not supposed to discuss that thing here, because here we are concerned with breathing. So if we talk about the breathing, they all respire through lungs. Okay, why we have taken them together? Because they all respire through almost same way, and that way is they all are specialized with lungs. They all respire with lungs. They absorb oxygen from air, as lungs are specialized to absorb the oxygen dissolved in air. These all animals absorb the oxygen from air. They respire through their lungs. Now, The example which we are going to take for understanding breathing in detail, that is the example of mammal, and that is human being. We are also the mammal, and we are going to discuss breathing in human beings in detail. So let's start breathing in human beings. As you can see in this animated picture that there are pouch-like or bag-like structures in our chest cavity. These are known as lungs. You can see that there are pipe-like structures in them. These pipe-like and tube-like structures are called as blood vessels. Okay, how it's happening we are going to discuss. All the human beings respire through same way. As you have been told in previous slide that all the birds, all the reptiles, all the mammals have same respiratory organ as lungs. So, if we talk about the human beings, they respire by lungs. Lungs are full of small tubes called blood vessels. Okay, these blood vessels are basically pipe-like or tube-like structure as shown in picture. These are pipe-like structure in which blood flows. Blood circulates throughout our body. Okay, blood circulates throughout our body through these tube-like structure or blood vessels. If we talk about oxygen, oxygen of air passes into blood. We take in air through our nostrils that goes down into the trachea and comes into the lungs. As these lungs are full of small tubes or blood vessels, the oxygen which came with air is passed into the blood moving in blood vessels. Now, the blood in lungs is full of oxygen. The next point is blood provides oxygen to all parts of the body. Now this blood will circulate all around the body. Okay, this will circulate all around the body and it will provide oxygen to every part of the body, even every cell of the body. So every cell will take up the oxygen and will utilize this oxygen to get the energy. Carbon dioxide is carried by blood to lungs. So, as the blood gives oxygen to every part of the body, it takes carbon dioxide from every part in return. So, once the air we exhale is full of carbon dioxide. Once carbon dioxide is reached to the lungs, it will get mixed with air in the lungs and then we exhale that air through our trachea and it comes out from our body through our mouth or nostrils. So we can say that the air we exhale is full of carbon dioxide. This is how human beings and all mammals, birds, reptiles take in oxygen and use it to get the energy and exhale carbon dioxide. Now we would learn about breathing in amphibians. Apart from mammals, reptiles, birds, there is another group of animals known as amphibians. What are the amphibians? Amphibian, basically it is a group of animals that has dual nature because amphi means dual or double, means they can live on both. On land they can live, in water they can live. And the best example is frog. Okay, frog is the best example for the amphibians. So what are the common features? Frogs are amphibians as I told you. They can live on both land and water. They can survive in water. They can live on land as well. Whenever they are on land, they breathe through their lungs. As we breathe through our lungs, whenever frogs or other amphibians are on land, they breathe through their lungs. But they are specialized to live in water as well. So whenever they are under the water, they breathe through their moist skin. As you can see in this picture, that the frog has shiny skin. Why does the skin seems shiny? Because this is moist skin. Up till now, we have discussed breathing in mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. Here is another group of animals, water animals, and they are usually known as fish or fishes. So we are going to see how the breathing is happening in fish. So here in this animated picture, you can see there is a fish and there is the structure known as gills. These gills are basically responsible for breathing or respiration in all water animals, including fish. Now, how it is happening? Fish breathe through gills, as I told you. Number two is gills are full of small tubes called blood vessels. As we have discussed blood vessels in lungs, likewise there are gills are also full of small tubes, and these small tubes are called as blood vessels. Okay, now how they are taking the water? Fish take in water through their mouth. Okay, the mouth is going into the body of the fish through their mouth, but after that, gills absorb the oxygen dissolved in water. Remember, these gills do not absorb the oxygen directly from the water. First, water goes into their body through their mouth. When water goes into their body through mouth, inside their body, gills are full of small tubes like blood vessels, okay? And these gills absorb the oxygen dissolved in water. This is the difference between gills and lungs, that if we talk about the lungs can absorb the oxygen which is dissolved in air, but gills absorb the oxygen that is dissolved in water, as fishes do. The next point is, as we give out carbon dioxide, gills give out carbon dioxide. Okay, gills absorb the oxygen dissolved in water, and in return, gills give out carbon dioxide. Now, according to our chapter, there is a last group of animals in which we are going to discuss breathing, and that is insects. Now we are going to learn breathing in insects. Insects live on land, but they do not have lungs. We live on land and we respire through our lungs. Birds and reptiles, they also respire through their lungs. Insects live on land, but they do not have lungs. So if they do not have lungs, how do they breathe? They breathe through the tiny holes in their body. They have tiny holes in their body, and these tiny holes are helpful, or these tiny holes are used to absorb the oxygen from air. These tiny holes are known as spiracles. So we can simply say they breathe through these tiny holes called spiracles. The air that is taken in into the body of insect by small tubes. How it is happening? Let's watch a short video for this. Here you can see that there is a grasshopper. You can see these holes, these dot-like structure. These dot-like structures are spiracles actually. Okay, so these tiny holes take in oxygen. They are spiracles. If we zoom it, so it looks like this. Air goes into their body through these holes or spiracles. After going into the body, there are tube-like structure from which oxygen is absorbed and carbon dioxide is released. This is how an insect respires. Okay, this is how the insect respires. As I told you in beginning of this chapter that we are going to learn some important processes in this chapter. Okay, so some of the important processes of animals we will learn in this chapter, from which we have done number 1 breathing, number 2 is remaining, that is feeding, number 3 is remaining, that is movement. Okay, if we talk about breathing, we have discussed the way of breathing in different animals. We have grouped the animals into different categories, including birds, reptiles, mammals, fish, insects. Okay, few of the examples we have discussed in detail. Now we shall proceed towards the feeding of the animals. So here we go with another segment of our chapter, that is feeding in animals. Before going towards feeding in animals, we should know what is feeding. Feeding is one of the important process of all the living creatures, as all the plants prepare their food in their body, but animals get their food from any of the source. So simply we can say that all the animals consume food to get the energy. How do they get their food? They get their food, or animals eat their food, either in the form of plants or in the form of animals. Okay, so according to their feeding habit, we have divided animals into three main types. Why we have divided? We have divided them according to their feeding mode, or there are three types of there are three types of animals according to their feeding mode or feeding habit. What are these? These are herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Herbivores are basically those animals they feed on plants. For example, horse, sheep, cow, and so on. If we talk about carnivores or carnivorous animals, they are the animals that feed on meat, flesh, or other animals like lion, tiger, dog, cat. But apart from these two, there is another type of animals, and that is omnivores. Omnivores are those animals that feed on both. Okay, they can be carnivorous, they can be herbivorous. It means they can eat plants, they can eat flesh as well. Okay, so omni means all, and this all includes plants and other animals in the form of flesh or meat. So we have a good example here as a mouse. Okay, so this is how we have classified the animals into three main types on the basis of their feeding habit. In next class, we shall discuss them in detail. So here we are just winding up our lecture. Okay, as I have mentioned the page numbers here. Okay, what you have to do, you have to read your page number 12 and 13. Read these pages properly, underline and highlight the important lines. I hope you have got all of the things from this chapter. What kind of things we have learned in this chapter? We have learned one of the important process of all the animals, breathing. Breathing we have learned in this chapter in detail. Okay, in the next class we will learn about feeding habits of animals. So here we are completing our first segment or first lecture of our chapter number 2. Hope you have got all of the things. Don't forget to read your book properly. Okay? So thank you so much. Remember me in your prayers. Okay? Be safe at home. Wash your hands properly. Inshallah we shall meet in the next class. Thank you.